What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, November 5th, 2020. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. We have got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on here, especially regarding this Charlie Foxtrot of an election process and all the fraud that's going on. We're going to be talking a lot about that. Meanwhile, Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. And we're going to do news until we run out of news, at which point we'll be opening the phone lines for your comments and questions. And if it's anything like yesterday, people are just really very, very angry about what is being done to our country here. Okay, so I want to focus here on the election fraud because there are so many stories out there. This is, not like previous elections where there's, a mention here and a mention there, and the corporate media can say, well, it doesn't really change the outcome. There is just so much of it all over the place. And Rudy Giuliani was out there doing a press conference earlier today and just saying, really, it's happening all over the country. We don't know really what to do with it here. And he basically said, there's no checks, no balances. The ballots could be from Mars as far as we're concerned, he said. Biden could have voted 50 times. The ballots could all be coming up from New Jersey. He was speaking from Pennsylvania. And so he was really on high dudgeon. And apparently he filed a lawsuit against the governments of Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Former New York mayor and Trump legal advisor Giuliani revealed yesterday, tearing into state governments for engaging in fraud unlike any he had ever seen. Now, as of the last word, pardon me, a Democratic judge in Pennsylvania had thrown out Giuliani's lawsuit. So obviously, it's going to take it to a higher court. This is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. It really is. And already Pelosi is out there screaming that Amy Coney Barrett should recuse herself from any court cases involving the election. And I'm sure at some point they're going to say that all of the Trump appointee justices ought to step down on this. Not going to happen, but I mean, that's how desperate they are. This thing is still a nail biter. It's still neck and neck. We're now getting word that the media may have called Arizona for Biden too soon because there's still a lot of ballots left to count out there, and Trump is gaining on Biden. It's again, it's a very, very close race, and they maybe shouldn't have handed it off to Biden quite so early. So again, a lot of these states assigned to Biden and Trump have not actually finished their counting. It's just somebody's educated guess. Well, it's going this way so far. We can expect it to continue that way, except it really doesn't. In a lot of these races, you're seeing at the last second tons and tons of Biden votes just magically appearing from someplace here. Now, there was a court in Pennsylvania rule today that GOP observers must be allowed to watch ballot counting across the state. As we reported earlier in the week, they were these cases, one of them caught on video, where credentialed GOP poll watchers were not being allowed into the counting centers. And they had all the appropriate paperwork. They were supposed to be there, and they were told point blank, no, you can't come in here. Your paperwork is no good here. But this court basically ruled GOP observers must be allowed to watch the ballot counting. And here is the kicker, okay? The counting centers are still blocking the GOP observers. They're defying the court order. And that alone right there tells you there's something going on in there they don't want anybody to witness. Because if the counting was on the up and up, they'd tell the GOP observers, sure, come on in, have a cup of coffee, and just take a look here. Giuliani was saying that in some cases, when the observers are allowed into the balloting places and the counting centers, they're being kept 20 to 30 feet away from where the counting is actually taking place. Well, unless you brought a Celestron telescope with you, you really can't see anything from 20 to 30 feet away. You can't see the signatures. If they match, you can't see any of the things that might indicate a fraudulent ballot. And things have gotten so intense that the top Republicans in the Pennsylvania Senate have called on Pennsylvania's top election official to resign. But she's saying no, she's not going to resign. She thinks she's doing a wonderful job. So Pennsylvania Senate Majority Leader Jake Corman of Center County and President Pro Temp Joe Scarnati of Cameron, Clinton, Elk, Jefferson, McKean, Potter, Tioga, and Clearfield counties said hours after the polls closed that Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar should resign over changing guidance to counties about how to handle the mail-in and absentee ballots. And so it's reaching the high levels. Again, in Pennsylvania, apparently mail-in ballots from the military serving overseas were found dumped in the trash in Pennsylvania. Most of them were Trump votes. And from the small number of votes involved, I am willing to concede this was probably somebody's mistake somewhere rather than intent. But it just underscores the fact that the system does not work. It is not, in fact, accurately tracking every single vote by Americans. They're being basically handled like confetti, and they're getting lost and they're getting thrown in the trash. Now, over in Michigan, and this is a dead giveaway, the county clerk of Antrim County discovered that the total votes counted by the election software did not match the printed tabulator tapes. And it's those printed tabulator tapes that are used to declare the official results. So already we find out that there is a difference between votes counted and what the official results were reported, at least in this one Michigan county. Okay, now Trump legal advisor Jenna Ellis is discussing this magical 138,000 Michigan Biden votes that appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the night. And, you know, Trump had a sizable lead in Wisconsin and Michigan, but then somehow overnight the ballot showed up. And somebody actually got on video people walking into the counting center with these wheeled briefcases and coolers. And this was, I think, at like 4 o'clock in the morning that this happened. And so it does look like new ballots were being brought on in. Okay, over, again, Michigan, the voter database is indicating that dead people were returning absentee ballots. And apparently the people were aged anywhere from 118 to 120 years old. They returned absentee ballots. The oldest person alive right now is only 117 years old. So it's getting really obvious. Again, in Michigan, Jay DeBoyer is the county clerk for St. Clair County. And basically says that they've discovered that votes for Trump are being omitted. He says he's claiming it's a technical error that caused Trump's votes to be a significant number off. And it's just all over here. Now, this is a really, really big one. Again, in Michigan, an anonymous tipster with the Postal Service went to Project Veritas and basically said his supervisor was ordering mail carriers to backdate ballots that arrived the day after the election. They were hand stamped with a postal registration mark for the day before so that they could be taken over to the counting center. And apparently this mail carrier said that in many cases the supervisor was actually stamping the ballots himself. And apparently this has launched an investigation, which is probably going to go nowhere, unfortunately, here. Okay. Over in Detroit, tens of thousands of ballots were dropped off in USPS boxes at the Detroit Absentee Ballot Processing Center at 3:30 a.m. after the election, after Election Day. In other words, they were 3.5 hours late. And the reason it called attention to itself is before this huge batch of ballots showed up, no ballots had arrived at the center for over 6 hours. And the poll workers were sitting there with no work to do and just sort of cooling their heels. And then all of a sudden, this huge surge of ballots came on in. And according to Michigan election law, all of those mail-in and absentee ballots had to be submitted before 8 p.m. on Tuesday night to be lawfully accepted and counted for the election. So, again, the rules are being bent and broken. Oh, it was over in Detroit that somebody caught on video suitcases and coolers being rolled into the Detroit voting center at 4 a.m. and brought into the secure counting area. That's actually on video, and the video, at least for a while, was up on social media. Another video, Detroit election workers are actually cheering as a GOP election monitor and a GOP lawyer are removed from the counting center. A little bit of bias on display there. All right, another in Detroit, apparently 130,000 ballots, all for Biden, arrived in 3 vehicles in Detroit in the dead of night. And apparently at that counting center, they've covered up all the windows, so much for windows, so much for a transparent process. The person in charge of the building is out there saying, well, they just didn't want anybody staring on in and upsetting the poll workers. Well, you know, if you're going to have a transparent election, it has to be transparent. And covering over the windows goes the other direction here. All right, so let's look at some of the results so far that seem to be there. Now, on Election Day, there was a report that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had lost her re-election to a challenger. That has now been reversed, and I've received several stories today about how she handily won her second term. Democrat House Representative Abigail Spanberger, who's a former CIA operations officer, took the lead over her GOP challenger after 14,616 votes were found on what they're claiming is a mislabeled memory stick. How very, very convenient. Arizona Representative Paul Gosar was denied entry into the Maricopa County Election Center while the ballots were being counted. So Giuliani is right. This is all over the country here. Now, over in Arizona, voters have filed a lawsuit to restore their ballots canceled over Sharpies. Now, the issue is they're claiming that when they went in to vote, they were given these Sharpies to mark their ballots, and the Sharpie ink bled through the other side, making the ballots unreadable by the machines and resulting in their being rejected. And apparently the story goes that Republicans were being given the Sharpies and Democrats were being given ordinary pencils. And so it was a way, again, of suppressing votes. But the lawsuit basically details Maricopa County, Arizona, resident Lori Aquilar, who was given a Sharpie to fill out her ballot. And state officials had previously warned against using felt tip writing utensils on the ballots, but they were being handed out at the polling place here. And so this Aguilera's ballot was not accepted. It was canceled by the poll worker. She asked for a replacement ballot. They denied her. Pardon me. Georgia added between 25 and 35,000 uncounted ballots early this morning, and maybe enough to tip that state back to Biden. Now, Trump had a healthy lead there, and then all of a sudden the ballots came on in. And apparently the number has since grown, saying that they have between 50 and 60,000 uncounted ballots to go through. Over in New York, dead people have been discovered voting. Apparently, they found one absentee ballot in the name of somebody who died back in 2012. Another absentee ballot was mailed from an individual who had also passed away a long time ago. So the dead are rising from the grave to vote for Joe Biden. Now, Newt Gingrich is out there telling Donald Trump and Senate Republicans to start opening investigations into all this fraud in states called for Joe Biden, including Arizona. And he's basically echoing the president's claims that Democrats are stealing the election. Yeah, they are. They're not even trying to hide it. They really aren't. It's just right out in the open. And you, as an American, you ought to just be furious at that because they're disconnecting you from the process of running this country. And the whole promise of the United States of America is that we have a representative democracy where those people in power are put in there with the consent of the governed by way of the ballot box. And now it is just being shoved in our face. That really doesn't work. That we're all just wasting our time going to the ballot box and going to the voting booths. And it should make you angry. It makes me angry. Makes me very angry. If I had a dog, I'd be kicking it. All right, now we talked about this story where apparently some 300,000 ballots covering 15 states went missing. Just completely disappeared. And the Postmaster General was basically said, you will conduct an immediate sweep of these post offices to try and find the missing ballots. And we're talking 300,000 ballots. That's a lot of ballots. It's not like a couple of envelopes lost in the back of a drawer. So today, a federal judge ripped into Postmaster General DeJoy, saying he wants DeJoy to appear under oath with an explanation as to why the Postal Service refused to carry out his order to sweep the facilities for ballots on Election Day. We're getting a lot of that as well here. Okay. Story coming on out of Natural News. Trump wins the election. Democrats now working overtime to steal it by fabricating hundreds of thousands of votes in Michigan and Wisconsin. In Pennsylvania, Trump was ahead by nearly 700,000 votes. In Michigan, he was ahead by over 300,000 votes. In Wisconsin, he was ahead by 120,000 votes. And in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, Biden caught up with him. And it's neck and neck again. And apparently what happened, the Democrats shut down vote reporting until 3:30 a.m. And out of nowhere, Biden jumped up 200,000 votes without one single vote for Donald Trump. Rigging does not get more obvious than that. Okay. Here we have another story. 7 Milwaukee wards reporting more votes than total registered voters. And of course, the only way that can happen is fraud. Wards 234, 269, 272, 273, 274, 277, and 312, all inexplicably, well, it is explicable. They saw voter turnout that exceeded the total number of registered voters. Other wards saw near 100% voter turnout, which generally just does not happen. And apparently, research provided by the Wisconsin Secretary of State revealed that most of the obvious fraud took place on the far southwest side of Milwaukee. The rest was scattered throughout the city, which delayed reporting its vote tallies until most Americans were asleep on election night. And I don't expect the conservatives and Republicans to be as violent as the lefties, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, but they are getting into the streets here. There are protests all over. As a matter of fact, today they had what they called the Stop the Steal rallies. And these are organized by Freedom Works, Tea Party Patriots, and others to support honest counting of legal votes. And Trump supporters were urged to attend the rallies, which were dubbed Protect the Vote and Stop the Steal. And I presume there's going to be more of those, especially as we get into the weekend. All righty, story. This is coming out of hideoutnow.com. Biden is expected to win in Nevada despite having less than a 1% lead over Trump. And the final results still have not been released. They were supposed to be released later today. And they're saying Biden will squeak the inevitable razor-thin victory. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials, and we are going to be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and we're talking about what is probably the crookedest election in United States history. And we're talking about some of the results that have already or are about to come out from the election. Trump is leading Biden by 2.6% in Pennsylvania with 89. Oh, no, I'm not. Can you hear me now? Okay, we seem to be having some technical issues here. And can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, we're back live here again. All right, so we're talking about what is the crookedest election in United States history, and we're talking about some of the results that are about to happen, we think. Okay, and we've got music. Okay. So Trump is leading Biden by 2.6% in Pennsylvania with 89% of the votes counted. Okay. We seem to be having some issues. We're live on YouTube, but maybe not RBN, and we're trying to figure that out right now. Anyway, regarding Pennsylvania, they're expecting the results sometime tomorrow. Okay. Now, over in North Carolina, Trump is leading Biden by 1.2% with 94% of the votes counted. But they're saying their results will not be known for another week. You know, only 6% of the votes left to be counted, and it's going to take them a week. There is something not right about that, in my opinion. So, anyway. Biden's lead in Arizona. We were talking about Arizona before. They may have thrown it to Biden a little too soon. His lead in Arizona narrows to just 68,000 votes. And apparently the absentee ballots are actually favoring Donald Trump. And there's another 400,000 ballots yet to be counted. And that would certainly be an embarrassment to corporate media and the pollsters if Arizona had to flip back to the Trump campaign. Now, Trump is ahead by less than 1% in Georgia, but 98% of the votes are counted. They were supposed to announce those results today, but I have not seen them yet. So we'll keep an eye on that for later on here. Okay, up in Oregon, voters passed a measure to decriminalize hard drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and LSD, and of course it's all going to be taxed very, very heavily. They've apparently methamphetamine is also on the list of allowable drugs, so if you're into that sort of thing, time to move to Oregon. Over in California, Proposition 22 passed. Now, this was the one that would allow Uber and Lyft to continue treating their drivers as contractors without any benefits, without unemployment, and you know, not as high pay as they would be getting if they worked on a regular wage or salary. And so Uber and Lyft's stock went up when Prop 22 passed. Now, Nancy Pelosi is unhappy for a lot of reasons, but right now she's got one more. As a result of the 2020 elections, the number of pro-life women in the House of Representatives has doubled. And apparently 11 pro-life incumbent women won re-election, and 13 new pro-life women were elected to the House. 8 races still have to be called. Right now, it's looking like the GOP will keep control of the Senate, which means that Biden-Harris are going to be a lame duck administration as far as the liberal agenda is concerned. They're not going to be able to pack the courts because the Senate will not go along with that. Anyway, we were talking before about places where the actual number of votes seem to exceed the registered number of voters. And let's see, Nevada, the turnout was 125%, Pennsylvania, 109%, Minnesota, 107%, North Carolina, 106%, Wisconsin, 105%, Michigan, 105%, and Arizona, 101%. So Again, the only way you get that is if there's fraud taking place, and it's massive. It's all over the country here. All right. Well, apparently our RBN feed is back up and running along with our YouTube, so we can keep on moving. Now, a lot of people are saying, what does this debacle of an election really mean? Well, as I was saying earlier in the week, the U.S. cannot claim to be a democracy any longer with elections this obviously being manipulated. Our elections are as badly manipulated as any banana republic or third world nation in decline. And we certainly are not going to be able to point fingers at anybody else saying that we don't approve of the way you run your elections, nor can we justify future wars by saying we're bringing democracy to those other countries, because we need to bring it here first. Okay, we're going to take another break for commercials. Back with more election news and other news after these two words. And welcome back to our show here. We're talking about the election here, and we were talking about, how this is going to affect the image of the United States of America. And there's a lot of articles in the foreign press right now basically saying that the United States has lost its mantle, if you will, of being this model of a true democracy in action because of what we're seeing unfold here. And there's an article over in Global Times basically saying that what we're seeing, this election, this crooked election, this stolen election, basically is reflecting the decline and decay of the United States of America. And I know I've been saying that I expect in the long run we're going to have a Soviet Union style collapse, and this could be the beginning of it. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines because callers are already calling in. Area code 512-248-8252. We're going to start with Peter in Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Joe in California. I'm sorry, Joe in California. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Fine.
Mike, it seems like what the CIA used to do in the past, whether it was in Italy, post-war Italy, where
yes,
they rigged the vote there, all of their crimes that they committed in Latin America, meddling in Latin American elections.
Remember what Henry Kissinger said about Chile? The issues are far too important to let the voters decide.
Right, exactly. And Nixon, this was after Pinochet came in. Nixon ordered Kissinger to make their economy scream. So,
yes.
But it seems like it's all coming home now. Not only, with
yes,
the color revolutions, Antifa, BLM, and now we have not that the elections were ever clean and transparent, but it's hit its apex in terms of being fraudulent with this election.
Yes. Way over the line. Yeah.
Mike, if you were going to put a percentage on this in terms of Trump's chances of winning, what would that be?
Unfortunately, I wish I could be more optimistic, but we already have Democratic judges that are trying to run interference on all of these lawsuits. And, they're going to have to get to the Supreme Court on some of these. I don't know. I mean, the deep state has invested a huge amount of time, energy, and money, not to mention exposing themselves to public scrutiny with this crooked election. And I don't see them backing off. And that they're going to do whatever they feel they need to do to get Biden in there, up to and including assassination of Donald Trump.
Right. I mean, they've already cheated enough. So I don't give Trump a chance in the courts. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But they've cheated. They've already cheated so much that I don't see any chance of Trump winning. So. And I was really surprised. I heard Steve Bannon today, and Steve Bannon's very confident. He's talking about 28 of the 50 state legislatures are controlled by the Republicans who will elect the electors. So he believes that might be a path. He doesn't call it a path to victory. He believes Trump already won. He calls it a path to the inauguration. But I'm a little skeptical about that strategy. And then he said, if that doesn't work, take it to the House of Representatives, where it's done, where you have 28 Republican state representatives, basically 28 to 22, and they could easily do it there. But these Republicans, I'm not I wouldn't be shocked to find out that the Republicans, the establishment Republicans, are complicit in all this cheating.
Well,
They
we
don't
know
like
that there were
Trump.
Republicans who were never Trumpers. We knew that back in
Right.
2016, and the ones who got on board with that whole Russiagate hoax.
Right, exactly. I mean, the likes of Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan before him, they were never fans of Trump. And look at everything that Trump has done for the party in, their gains in the House. Looks like they're going to keep the Senate, but
Yes.
they're not going to stand behind him in this fight. They'll do what, the Barry Goldwater types and the others did with Nixon. I mean, granted, Nixon's situation was a lot more serious with facing impeachment, but they'll tell him, look, for the good of the country, you shouldn't fight this. You just have to move on. And that may have been the right thing to do in 1960 when Nixon didn't challenge his defeat to Kennedy, because it was a different country back then. But
yes.
we can't afford 4 years of Biden-Harris. He needs to fight this. He's got the moral high ground. He has to fight this, not only for himself, but more important for the 65, 70 million American people who voted for him.
I agree. He's got to fight, and he shouldn't give up, and he should keep on fighting until the fighting is done. If for no other reason than to continue to hammer home to the American people just how crooked the election system has become. And maybe one piece of good that will come out of all of this is there will be a grassroots swell of demand in every single state to overhaul the election system into something that we can trust, because very obviously we cannot trust what we have now.
Right. Well, I'll just leave it with this. I was listening to Glenn Beck, and he made a good point that if Trump does eventually lose and leave office, he will likely start his own network and compete with the likes of Fox and the others just to keep himself in the news. And he right now, they agree, he right now is the favorite for the Republican primary for 2024. Yes. No question about it. He is the favorite.
Well, I'll certainly send him a resume.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Take care.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And now we will go to Peter in Los Angeles. Peter, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
I'm calling up about what's going to be a sensitive topic.
Okay.
And that is election cheating in predominantly black areas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's videos out there of Detroit where the Republican, the election inspector has been thrown out, and everybody, all the black employees stand up and cheer. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, they stand up and cheer, and I all this vote by mail stuff. And I did the numbers on this morning. I believe it's, even though blacks are 12.6% of the population or something, they make up about 24% of all the mail carriers, and it's predominantly in the big cities, right? The Milwaukee's, yes, the Philadelphia's, the Detroit's, and so on and so forth. And whereas I just want to give a quick thing. I mean, if every single black person in the United States in 2008 had voted for Obama, but white people had totally abandoned him, he never would have been elected. White people elected him.
Yeah, no, that's true. I voted for Obama. I regret that now, but as opposed to having Bush,
But the point I'm getting to, Mike, there's my senator, Kamala Harris, who I can't stand. But,
yes.
Whites aren't even a majority here, but neither are blacks, right? But she has been elected here. And there's other black congressmen all over the place. There's been governors, there have been senators, and they've all been, since there's not one state that has a majority black population, that means that they've been voted by white people. And they complain about systematic racism. And what I want to ask you, and by the way, I want to point out that in all these areas where the postal carriers are carrying this huge percentage of ballots that are voted by mail, and they're mostly, the problems are in the city, mostly. the big
Yes.
cities, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit, so on, Atlanta, they are, nobody's watching them, the
No.
actual mail carriers. And they're not
We
being
had all
watched
these
at all.
stories
And
about ballots dumped in ditches and stuff. And Project Veritas got another video today in which a mail carrier admitted, that he would take a whole big stack of ballots and make sure that it got put into the correct place to be counted.
I want to. Here's the question I want to leave, and the thought. Everybody out there, and I really wish they'd investigate this and get back if they know any different. And I've cited a number of races just in this little one. Voting public, for public office, where blacks have been voted in by whites. As a matter of fact, in almost every single one. However,
Okay.
I want people to think in anywhere they know, from the precinct to the ward level, up to the state or congressional or senate or in a national election, if they know of a predominantly black district or ward or precinct, that given the choice between a black candidate for election and a non-black candidate, if they have ever voted for the non-black candidate, whatever their race, have they shown themselves to be that mature as a people, like white people have demonstrated when we put in Obama, where they're willing to put that aside? If you can name one race, even at the city council level, with an overwhelmingly black district that has voted for a non-black candidate, I'd like to know about it because I've investigated it and I can't find any. That's my challenge to anybody out there. And when they talk about systemic racism, I want them people to think about that and throw it right back in their frickin' faces.
Yes, I agree with you. Okay, it's a good challenge.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mike? What's on my mind is this outrage, this theft. Mike, again, I know I'm going to probably get some criticism by a couple of people that listen, but again, this shows, unfortunately, Trump's inability to really manage this government, all right? Whether it's, I don't know whether you say it's incompetence, just inexperience, being a businessman, not a politician, or anything. Right now, he should be taking command of the military, of the federal law enforcement, especially the U.S. Marshal Service and the Border Patrol, because those are the most loyal to him, Border Patrol and ICE. And he should be marching, telling him to go into these various precincts and seize all records, okay? All voting records, and stop the counting immediately. That's what he should have done. He should have been done that. He should have done that 2 days ago when this outrage first started. All right? This is a theft. This is theft of this
It's a
country,
coup d'etat.
not just of an election, but of the United States of America. And I'll tell you something, Mike. You're right. If this can go through, I'm not going to respect my own country anymore because, as far as I'm concerned, the United States of America is dead. Okay? If this can,
Sadly, I agree with you. Sadly, I agree with you. The United States that I knew as a young person is gone. We're well on our way to being the new Soviet Union.
We'd be a banana republic at best, maybe a Soviet republic or something like that. And we would go the way of the Soviet Union because what really caused the Soviet Union to collapse was not Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was not even, I don't think he was all that great of a president in the first place. What it was corruption.
Yes.
The place got so corrupt, people could not count on anything anymore. Became a third world country or a banana republic. I say bananas up that far, and as cold as it gets there, with nuclear armed and a powerful military, and that's what basically we are now becoming, a huge banana republic with a huge military and lots of nuclear weapons. As a matter of fact, if anything, I would think if Biden gets in there, if I was Putin, I would be at high alert, knowing that this guy has his fingers on a nuclear trigger. Okay, the guy doesn't even
Well,
know
thank
what
goodness for the
planets are.
two-man rule. Biden can't launch the nukes all by himself.
Yeah, but it's bad enough. Like, it's bad enough
Okay.
to know that you got a clown like this. So it's really very sad. It's really very sad because, like I said, we are now on the crust. Are we going to take our country back? Are we going to let these clowns do this to us? And I believe that if they get away with this, this will lead probably to some kind of a civil war, maybe even a split up, kind of like the Soviet Union. We're going to split up into various states in this country.
Yes.
It won't even be one country.
We'll be
I think that's
balkanized.
what's coming to.
The liberals will have their little country, and the conservatives will have their little country, and we'll put up really strong border walls.
Because this is unacceptable. What's going on? I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, they're not hiding anything. This is theft. They got a video and everything else. What is taking Trump so long? Why doesn't he send U.S. Marshals or even federal troops? He should have sent federal troops into the various offices of the FBI, the Justice Department, and the CIA when he first took office. Cleaned those places out. Instead of putting these very dirtbags, keeping them in their positions or even appointing them to new positions, like somebody like Haskell there at the CIA, promoting her to be CIA director, keeping Comey at first, and then replacing him with another scumbag like Ray. This is what I'm saying. He doesn't know, at least when it comes to personnel selection, he has no clue what he's doing. And he's paying, he's not just paying for it, we're paying for it. Because I'm not so concerned about Trump, I'm concerned about our country, Mike. That's my concern. This is the theft of a country. This man was elected by the people, okay? And in a constitutional election, he won enough states. Our system is based on the electoral college, okay,
Yes.
not on a popular vote, and completely fair. And he won it. And yet, from the time he took office, it was basically a coup. The whole Russian nonsense, the Russian conspiracy theory.
Well, because Trump was an outsider. And Trump's victory in 2016 showed that the machine's control over the elections was not absolute because enough American people voted to overcome their machinations, which is why they doubled down this time, with the cost of being very, very visible now.
I understand that, but he should have been ready for this. And so should have the people behind it.
He should have been ready.
This was obvious that they were going to try something like this. To be honest with you, I didn't think they'd be this blatant about it, though. I mean, they're out front with it. I mean, they're not allowing electors. That's enough to throw these. They need to throw all these various states. They need to throw the election out and order a new election in the various states that are doing this. That's what they should do.
Mark,
okay,
Mark, I got to let you go. We've got to take a break for commercials. We've got more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike.
Mo, are you there?
Hey, are you there?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Yeah, Mike, I was just going to say just a couple of things. First of all, the only president I ever, anybody that ran for president I've ever worked for was Ron Paul, and I campaigned for him twice. And I kind of should have quit then because I really do think these presidents are selected. Kind of told me that. You look at this chant they had, lock her up with Hillary. He had 4 years, and I don't care if he was investigated in this Russiagate stuff. And he has how come she was never locked up? That's my first question. Nothing was done. She's still out there, the modern day Jezebel. I know how you feel about her with very good reason. One of the most horrible creatures, from Whitewater to Benghazi to blackmail and Libya. I mean, just a horrible monster of a human being. And this person she's never done anything. That's my first question. And it just makes me wonder what's really going on. And I think the bottom line is just this Hegelian dialectic thing, the out of chaos order. I think they want chaos. I think they want the right against the left, divide and conquer. And I think this is playing right exactly how they want it. I listened to the callers And you have great callers. You had a great show, and people. But I just think we're all being sucked into this thing, to this vortex of fighting each other, and rather than focusing on what's the little jerk behind the curtain. What are your thoughts?
Well, you're right. One of the biggest problems that we have to face is the fact that the political machines, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, is constantly setting us against each other to keep us busy and fighting and tired and not really paying attention to what's going on, as you say, behind the curtain. By the way, it's Nietzsche who said, "From chaos comes order." And I wish that were the case, but it seems to me that we started with a very orderly nation and we have descended into chaos.
Well, that's what they want. So we're playing right into their hands. Just this whole thing with identifying yourself is, I can see being proud of your country, your heritage. That's great.
Yeah.
But I don't think, we should, of course I believe in free speech. I'm a libertarian, but, this whole thing of identifying black, white, this and that, we're all human beings. What happened to the content of the character? I think if anything, that's the worst thing people can do. The black vote, the white vote, the this vote. What? You were all human beings, I thought. What happened to that? The melting pot. And that's the biggest divide of all, the biggest divide of all, don't you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Unfortunately, the concept of the black vote, the Hispanic vote, the women vote, and so forth, comes out of the election process because, unfortunately, the reality is that these groups can be, put together, and certain assumptions can be drawn about how they're going to vote. Mo, I need to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We've got to take a break for station identification. I'm going to come right back to you. And welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, but they may be full. So if you get a disconnect or a busy signal, try, wait a few minutes to try again. 512-248-8252. And Mike in the control room is saying, yes, right now the lines are full. And before I go back to Mo in Florida, I got an email in response to Peter in Los Angeles' call pointing out that the mayor of Detroit is white. So that may be the one example. All right, so Mo, welcome back here in hour number 2, and just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, Mike, I get another caller, so I'll cut off here. But for somebody that's been intricately involved with the Wicked Witch, Hillary Clinton, why hasn't Trump done something? Why is she still roaming free to inflict mankind with her poison? Why, Mike? Why do you think, in your heart of hearts, that this witch is still free?
I think probably one of our other callers last week hit it right on the head, that Trump made a deal with her that if she would concede and quietly go away, that he would make sure she was not prosecuted. And I have no doubt that probably somebody's trying to make that same offer to Donald Trump right now, and he has turned them down.
Well, we'll see. You're for somebody that's been through a lot. We all have, I guess, at our age. But
yes.
I think I really honestly think this thing is, like Salente says, it's a presidential reality show, and they want this chaos. They want this civil war, just like they did in Germany and Soviet Union, and every single country. And I'm sorry, but I think that I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just being realistic. So lock and load, boys. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Well, Mike, yeah, I can't do anything about politics. I cast my one vote for Trump, but the election, I don't understand all the, I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand all the illegal machinations that are going on here and stuff. I don't know exactly what the hell the chances are. I mean, obviously there's cheating, but there's
a lot of cheating.
Just not on this scale. Just not on this scale before. Okay, but I'm powerless on that, and I'm also powerless on Zionism. People call in here a lot and talk about Zionism and the history of Zionism. There's nothing anybody can do about that. You can't even vote against Zionism because no politician is going to do anything about it. So, but there is one thing I can do something about. Your caller yesterday was talking about masks. He's an old man, probably maybe as old as I am or older. He doesn't wear a mask. I don't wear a mask. If you're retired, and don't have a job, you really don't have to wear a mask in America. I mean, if you have a job where they make you, then you have to wear one.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel good about not wearing one. It's a peaceful protest. You're not, because masks are stupid. In the first place, they do no good for anybody. The science now more and more is saying that they actually do more harm than good. They're very cruel to make little kids wear them. Little kids, that's horrible for them. They need their facial expressions. They don't have a big vocabulary. And kids, anyway, don't get it at all. Little kids don't get it. It's this virus, which is just a cold virus. I mean, so what I'm trying to say is this is something we all face every day. It's in our face.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to politics, which, okay, there's always been politicians cheat. There's always been wars. And there's always been, in the Zionism, okay, it's been around for a while, and nothing they can do. Now, by being this peaceful protest, I do two things at once. I'm protesting against this mask deal. People see me. I'm not making a big deal. I'm not fighting anybody. It's peaceful. But they see, hey, this guy's not wearing a mask in Walmart. Sometimes I'm the only guy in Walmart not wearing one. I don't understand why. Everybody else just wants to go along. I don't know why. I don't understand why they wear them. You don't have to. You don't have to wear one. Okay, now some places are going to have a sign there saying no mask, no service. So I don't try to fight that. But on the other hand, that's an economic protest. They just don't, they're not going to get my money if they want to be that way. So I do shop at places where
I mean, some states have, have an actual mask mandate. We do here in Indiana. It's supposed to expire here in a couple of weeks. But right now, if you're not wearing a mask outside, you can get a ticket.
Well, it's not that way in Arizona. I guess you're right. In some states, it is that way.
Yeah.
But did you get my books, by the way? I sent you a couple books.
Yes, I got those just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you very much.
Are you going to send one to Dustin? Did you read the note in there?
I read the note in there, and I might send one to Dustin. I was thinking about letting my doctor read the, one of the two copies. But no, I'll go ahead and forward this one on to Dustin.
Yeah, because I would buy one and send it to him. My mom always used to tell me you win more. I mean, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yes.
She told me that all the time, I think, because she observed that I was trying to use vinegar all the time and not catching any flies, I mean,
I had a lot more luck with duct tape myself.
But Dustin, yeah, everybody tries to call him, castigate him for being a dummy on masks and all that. But I reached in my pocket and bought him a book, and so I'm trying to win him over with honey instead of vinegar. How about that, Mike?
Sounds like a good approach, and I don't have Dustin's mailing address, but when he calls on in, I'll ask him to email it to me so that I can get this book out to him.
I think Trump will take. He'll end up taking Arizona, but these other states are just too far. I don't know if they can do anything about the theft. They can go to the Supreme Court. I don't know what's going to happen. They have recounts. It'll be a while, I think, for us all over. I'll let you go, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to have recounts. And the big issue, of course, is not counting illegal votes like the ones from dead people, the ones that certainly exceed the number of registered voters in a given precinct, and certainly those that were cast by non-citizens who are, under the law, not allowed to vote. But unfortunately, they do in the millions, and the Democrats count on that. All right, we're going to go to Jim in Montana. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I get off the fire line and everything went to hell. Holy cow. He's going to win. We're going to win.
I hope so.
Of course, they're trying to cheat. They're going to try everything they can. There's a gentleman was saying that he doesn't understand why they don't do something with Hillary or whatever. I mean, come on, guys. You don't know what's going on yet. Hunter Biden and that laptop.
Yes.
These guys are all part of this pedophilia ring. And they have all aligned themselves with China. Why? Because China and their elite are part of this pedophilia crap too. They're all tied in. So if Hillary goes down, or any of these guys go down, she spills the beans. She spills the beans. I mean, they pull the rug out from all of them.
Oh, I mean, during the 2016 campaign, when it was, they were talking about, going after her for all kinds of stuff there. And she literally said, if I go down, I'll take the rest of Washington, D.C. with me.
Oh, worse than that. God, China will get involved. They're aligned with China because, you see, I do quite a bit of trying to track this stuff down myself because there's nothing more important than saving these children. It is horrific. It's horrific, guys, what's going on. It's bad. And it has rippled since this coronavirus started happening. Everybody's wearing masks. The kidnappings and the trafficking is out of control. It's gotten worse. And there's a reason for that. But, yeah, it will send the whole world into a world war. Okay?
Yes.
And, yeah, I hate Hillary. I hate them all. But it's got to be done right. Trust me, I've been kind of tracking this on myself. In fact, through my research, I'm pretty sure that through my research, I'm pretty sure that Pornhub and a couple of their channels are heavily involved with housing the children. And I know this is terrible. Training them and then sending them to those to the islands, those pleasure islands. That one of Epstein's was just one of many.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go down in Google Earth and look all around there, you'll see similar buildings on the islands. Of course, Google Earth will not tell you what, if anything, is going on inside them, but definitely there's a lot of very private, places down there where that sort of thing could potentially be happening.
We're not just talking about China either, like Urkel, Angela Urkel or whatever.
Yeah,
Urkel. Oh, man, all of them, man. They're all part of this with these children, and they will go into a world war and send us to flames before they allow themselves to go down for this. That is what this is all about. That is what's going on, and now you guys are all starting to see with Hunter Biden with the laptop, Wiener. I mean, there's Count Epstein. I mean, the Lola. The Lola airline that Epstein
Lolita Express. The Lolita Express is what they call it, or what he called it.
Yeah, the Lolita Express. On the flight logs, they've got Bill Clinton, Adam Schiff, Jim Comey, okay? Several others. Okay, this is what it is all about. And yeah, they are cheating hard. Real hard, and they are sending in votes of deceased people.
Yes.
Okay? They got caught here a little bit. Now,
well, I mean, there's some justification for that because maybe the dead recognize one of their own in Biden.
I tell you what, there's and so from I was watching with Arizona too.
Yeah.
They had to retract some of their votes because some of them were doubled. People were voting twice.
Yes.
Were double votes. And now they also got caught with some deceased.
Yes.
Arizona said they're going to wait till the election, until they're done doing the count. Come out with the numbers who had double voted and that. Said those people were looking to get arrested. Okay. There's no way Biden has those kind of votes. There's no way. They are putting everything into this, and they're risking getting caught with this voting fraud that they're doing because they absolutely cannot afford to let Trump run another one. Because, and this is why, and because I researched pretty heavily through this. I'd like to see these people go down too.
See, it's a Pyrrhic victory. It's a Pyrrhic victory because, they may get Biden into the White House, but by doing so, they are basically teaching the American people they have been disconnected from the process of running the nation. And I think Americans, if they realize they no longer have a voice, they're going to start thinking about, what they need to do about the situation, because no American wants to live under a dictatorship, which is basically what we have. Where we're going to pick your leaders, and these are your leaders, and that's you might as well get used to it.
Let alone a dictator, a chomo. I refuse. I mean, you guys understand that if Biden does, if he does get elected, or if he does get the votes, then we have to go to war, guys. Do you want to be under the leadership of a child molester and his son as a child molester and all these people? No, sir. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but that's where I draw the line. And if you can't draw the line there too, then I'd have to pull your American card. I don't know if I should call you American. Being able to be on the leadership of a child molesting, sicko, human trafficker. Come on, guys. Yeah, don't give up on the country. The corrupt are always going to be on the attack.
Yes.
It's going to always, we can't give up. Okay, what this country was founded on, what's about, we cannot give up the fight that our forefathers started. Okay, Trump's going to get reelected. He's going to get the counts. He is.
He's going to steal it. Well, I'm afraid you may be right.
No, Trump's going to get it. He's going to.
Oh, you think Trump's going to get it? Well, I hope you're right. Yes. I hope you're right.
I know he is. He sent his legal teams to sent his legal teams down into Arizona, and then what was the other one? Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Is the other one that's up for grabs still? Yeah. He sent his legal teams down there with warrants or paperwork from a judge saying they have to let them in and watch the counting now. So he's got people in there. So somebody in there was saying like, oh, he's got to get the feds in there. He's got to get whatever. He did. He got his legal team in there. And in Pennsylvania, they were trying to block them. They were trying to block them out. Pennsylvania, I watched a video. One of the guys that they were in there doing the ballots. They were counting them up, whatever. He got up. He was frustrated, and he straight up told all the Republicans to leave. Straight up, they kicked all the Republicans out of there. Okay, because some of them were starting to catch on what they were doing. Okay, the media didn't let you watch the whole clip, but yeah, the guy was real frustrated, much about something. They kicked them all out of there, and they were super upset. And that's why Trump was called "Stop the Voting" in Pennsylvania. Stop the voting is because he wanted to
stop the counting.
Huh?
You meant stop the counting. And listen, we're coming up with a commercial break here, and I know how frustrated you feel. I feel just as frustrated, but I want to remind you of what Gandhi once said. He says, history has been full, I'm paraphrasing, history has been full of tyrants, and for a time they can seem invincible, but they always fall. And I think the same is true of the American deep state. It's going to destroy itself with its own corruption because it's running out of control. There is nobody really reigning in and saying,
you and the rest of the callers, you're too soft. You're too soft. You won't survive a collapse. You're too soft to fight. You're too soft to survive a collapse. Trust me,
I
you
don't
guys
want
got
to
no
see blood in the
freaking
streets, and I know I sound like I'm a coward because of that, but that's just the way I feel. I have
I
been
don't mean
counting
that. I'm
patience
sorry.
because I think this deep state is going to tear itself apart, and what our time is best suited to is figuring out how we're going to restart the country. I'd like to go back to the Constitution and the first 13 amendments as a starting point. And just try and put in as many safeguards as we can. But like Thomas Jefferson said, and again, I'm paraphrasing, we can set up an absolutely perfect governmental system, but it's only going to last 100 years until the corrupt tear it apart.
When Trump gets the votes, this economy is going to boom in the next two years or so, like it's never boomed before. And then the arrests that are going on, the trafficking and the bust. You guys don't understand because I've been following this. They are closing in on these people with the trafficking and the bust and all this.
Well, I've noticed that every time there are a bunch of children rescued from the traffickers, it gets hardly any news coverage at all. So clearly somebody somewhere is very much afraid. I mean, a story like that, children rescued from predators, I mean, that should be headline news all over, the country, but it isn't. It's, it's relegated to page 37 under the obituaries. Okay, listen, Jim, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We got more callers waiting on the line. I think we have one or two lines open if you want to call on in, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to David in Boston. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So much is going through my mind, Michael. I've changed my mind about what I'm going to talk about a half a dozen times. But
okay.
One thing I'd like to start out with, Michael, I'm famous for being misunderstood. I should get an Academy Award or something for being misunderstood. So I trust that all you and all your listeners are familiar enough with me. When I decried the freak show, ended my call decrying the freak show yesterday. Of course, I was talking about the fraudulent vote counting. This fraudulent vote count and how they're cheating. By the way, at this point, for Miles in Maine and Tom in Florida, at this point, I completely back President Trump for the second term. I know he's being cheated out of a second term. So, in this showdown with Biden, of course, with all the RBN family, I'm 101% behind President Trump in this vote count showdown and everything. But listen, and I'd like to thank Layla right away for sticking up for my honor yesterday. I stick up for hers too. I think that was the same angry white man that attacked Layla, launched the ad hominem attack on Layla when she gave the most lucid, cogent explanation. I loved her explanation. I never heard it explained so clearly when she explained the conditions of Palestine under the British mandate and everything. And I think that was the same jerk that called in and, you remember the call saying, accusing Layla of talking about Jews and Israel and blah, 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 and so on. But, he can say anything he wants about me because I'm an angry white man too. And I think people can tell I'm an angry white man, Michael. But I try to manage my anger with humor. And like when I was kidding Miles yesterday, I love Miles. I love Tom from Florida. I love Miles up in Maine. So I just manage my anger with humor, when if I say something like, I think Miles is Miles from reality instead of Miles from Maine. I don't say that in a malicious way. I'm a sucker for a play on words,
Yes, I know.
I love all your callers, Michael. The only one that I have to honestly say I don't like is the one that's attacking your callers. And basically, I call them all you. You should rename your show, Michael, from What Really Happened to All My Children. It's like this is your family.
Yeah. Well, when you're as old as I am, all of you are could be my children or grandchildren.
Yeah, and Michael, I completely understand. I completely understand you too. As far as different people have different temperaments and everything, and you fight. You fight in your own way, Michael. You're a great fighter, but every man and woman must fight in their own way. And even though you're not ready to pick up an AK-47 or something, you're a warrior for the truth, and we all are going to play our part in this. But anyways, I wanted to comment. Oh, here's what I wanted to say with the last caller. Michael, I came up with this one. I don't know if it's original or not, but you know how they refer to the Republicans in name only as rhinos?
Yes.
I'm beginning to, I think half these Americans, and especially the Americans in the system down in Washington, D.C. and everything, I think they're Americans in name only. They're not just Republicans in name only, they're Americans in name only. And I read a wonderful book. I don't know if you read it, Michael. The late Michael Collins Piper's book, The High Priests of War.
Yes.
And about all these, and Miles and Tom, I highly recommend they read that book. You can still get it from American Free Press and the Barnes Review and everything. But if they want to find out about these evil neocons, and they were all Republicans, they were just about all Jewish, and they were all Republicans, and the High Priests of War. By Michael Collins Piper. Then I wanted to comment, Michael, on what I refer to as former President Bill Clinton's comorbidity. Okay?
All right.
And of course, I'm referring to the Hildebeest. I used to call the Hildebeest. Now I just refer to her as Bill Clinton's comorbidity because she claimed to be his co-president, but really she's just his comorbidity. But quickly, and I know I have to be quick because you got great callers, Mike. You got about a half hour left, I guess, or something. But
yeah, that's about right.
Mike, let me close with this. I mean, you can start all the way from the boys found on the tracks down in Mena by the Mena airstrip that saw too much, all the way, Michael, to the Hildebeest becoming the senator from New York.
Yes.
John F. Kennedy Jr., who published George magazine, he was expressing political ambitions that he was going to run for the New York, the New York State Senate. Okay.
He was going to run for the exact same seat that Hillary eventually had. And fortunately for Hillary, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s airplane fell out of the sky. Okay, listen, David. All right, I'll hold you over, but we got to keep it short because we've got a lot of callers and we're running out of time. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with David in Boston. And David, you're going to wrap things up for us.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I won't continue with the Hildebeest. I'd like to, but let me just say this one last thing that's so important. Mike, are you? And I know you're not big on the gospel and religion and everything so much, even though you're very knowledgeable about it. But are you familiar with True News, Rick Wiles, and the True News podcast?
A little bit. I haven't spent a lot of time over there, but I know they exist.
Yeah, well, several months ago, however it was, 3, 4, 5 months ago or something, a man was interviewed. I think they did two Godcasts. They call it the Godcast. There was like a partner with Robert Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell and everything. And according to him, Ghislaine actually introduced Melania to Donald Trump. Now, I'm not implying or trying to suggest that she was introduced to him on Pedophile Island, but nevertheless, according to this man, and he was explaining why President Trump would wish, after Ghislaine was arrested and everything, Trump was wishing her the very best and everything and all that. But this man was saying that Melania was actually introduced to Donald Trump by Ghislaine Maxwell. And I can go back and maybe find the man's name. I forget the man's name, but he was an older man, and he really seemed everything he said was resonated. Everything else he said resonated, and that resonated with me, and that would explain Trump wishing. Imagine that, wishing yourself the very best and everything. But it's bizarre. But anyways, thanks for taking my call, Mike. I'm looking forward to hearing from your other callers. Chance didn't call in yesterday. I hope he's holding on the line. I'd love to hear from that West Virginian, you know.
Okay.
So thanks, Mike. Thanks a million, huh?
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, hello, Michael. Good day to you. Wow, that was a real something else, Leslie. Yeah, and maybe Dave, maybe in his New England states, he could maybe go out and campaign for trying to get some Republicans to vote instead of all those touchy-feely liberals over there in that whole New England area.
Yes.
Nonsense. I hope they play. They're going to be paying a lot of money for if Bubble and Biden gets in. They're going to be paying a lot of money for gasoline and heating oil. That's all I got to say about that nonsense. But yeah, Mike, they just had on Hannity right now, the great governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and we're having a major storm here, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it rained. It would have rained Tuesday like this. Who knows how many people to show up to the polls? But Donald Trump kicked butt here in Florida, and I think this state's going to become a red state now for good. And by the way, Mike, just now on Breitbart in New York, all these Orthodox Jews are pissed off that their vote doesn't count. So they want to do something. I guess they want to kick out Como, the homo, whatever, and they want to get rid of him. And these Orthodox Jews are like basically saying, man, our vote, why would you even vote? Like in New Jersey, when you got a lot of people in Jersey, their vote doesn't even count. They're wasting their time at the poll. Like you go to Hawaii, you're wasting your time at the poll. Like where Dave's from. You go to the poll, you're wasting your time. You're a conservative, what good is your vote? Unless you go out there and you try to change the system. And start telling these people in these states, hey, you're being played. You're being manipulated.
Yes.
Your conservative viewpoints don't mean nothing. Not in those states. Here in Florida, we have enough people, and the Hispanics here realize we don't eat Cuba here. They don't want it. They're not going to tolerate it. Neither are the white Anglos here. Neither are
the Hispanic vote for Trump really did surprise a lot of observers.
Yeah, Michael, it's 46% here in Dade County, and it could be higher. They're saying, but they put it at 46. By the way, the Jewish vote in Broward County, unbelievably, it was at 23%. Did you see that, Mike?
No, I didn't.
Trump. Yeah, that was reported on the Herald and the Sun Sentinel. There was 23% of the Jew vote this time went for Trump. It hasn't happened since 1960. That's the last time the Jews came out for the Republicans. So I thought that was very interesting to see that. But Trump's still losing. I don't know how he's losing when he got like a 4% bigger. He's at 12% now with the black vote nationwide, from what I'm hearing. And the Jews here in Florida were 22%. And, of course, the Anglos in the Panhandle all up there, they all vote for Trump all the time. And
yes.
This time you got 46% of the Cubans. However, Mike, they are trying to steal this election like that one. You had one good caller there. You said, hey, we're going to win this thing. You know what? We're going to win this thing one way or another. And 2 years from now, we're going to blow these demon rats out of the House and the Senate. You'll see. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm pulling that Trump gets in there. You know what? Farage from England even said it. Hey, Trump will probably consider running in 2024 if he does lose this time. And he'll whoop butt next time. But I think he's going to win it this time. I'm praying for it. But, you know, you got all these New England staters. And when they start seeing that their gasoline's going to go up $5 a gallon and their heating oil is going to be double or triple, I want to see how they're going to vote in 2 years from now, Mike. If that bubbly
it will be interesting.
Biden
I remember
in there.
When I was a kid, New Hampshire was solid Republican. You know, I mean, as red as you could get, and just how it managed to become liberalized is a bit of a mystery.
Well, Mike, all these Jews, these rich Jew billionaires like Bloomberg here, he spent $100 million to flip Florida. You have that George Jew scum Soros spending all this money against Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham out. So they lost all these schmucks lost a lot of money. So I think that's a good thing. And the American public's waking up. When Ron DeSantis was awesome just now, he said, "Why hasn't North Carolina been called? North Carolina should have been called that night. Georgia should have been called that night. Now they're trying to cheat in Georgia. Trump's still only up like 38,000 votes right now with 99% of the vote in. You saw that, Mike?
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers right now.
Trump's ahead in Georgia barely. He's winning North Carolina by a pretty good amount. And Alaska, Mike, they haven't even caught Alaska yet in a lot of these.
No, they haven't.
Breitbart finally called it, and Breitbart's the one that broke the story about all these Orthodox Jews getting fed up that their vote's not counting and when they go to vote. And they're like, they're either going to leave the state. You know, you got a lot of these Jews on the Diamond District that got a lot of money, Mike, and they're getting fed up that their vote is the liberalism that's running ramshot. They burnt New York up. Look what's ready to go down in Philadelphia tonight, Mike. It's ready to explode in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I know.
Wait till, like what your one caller said, wait till the white males get really ticked. When this happens, Mike, it's going to be all out hell in this country. It's going to be hell to pay. That's all I got to say about that. It's going to be hell to pay. Michigan is going to be hell to pay because they're finding out that thing was nothing but a thievery. And, you know, how are these blacks in Detroit and Michigan turning down a black man who's running for Senate? And how are these stupid lily whites would vote for this guy Peters when they had a black conservative man? And what's going on in Michigan, Mike? What the hell is going on in that state?
Well, you know, again, with the awareness of how much fraud is going on, it's kind of hard to make a judgment about the ordinary people of these various states and districts. They may be voting an entirely different way, and they're simply being overridden by the vote riggers. I mean, like Stalin said, people who vote decide nothing. People who count the votes decide everything. Anyway, Tom, we're running out of time, and I got a bunch of callers to get through.
And Mike, in Goodyear, Arizona, my brother lives. He told me that everybody, even in most of Phoenix, was all voting for Trump, but he's losing in Arizona. It's nonsense. And by the way, Mike, you're going to name your show. It's not your kids. It should be the Great American Men and Women for Mike or something. You should name it where it's going to be the Wonderful Americans Men and Women show, something like that.
Well, it's a little too polysyllabic for my taste here, and there are times when I think even what really happened is a little too long.
What's happening, Mike? What's happening is what it is. What's happening is the best name. You can don't ever change that name. That's a great name.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I don't know. I've been waiting on the phone. I think you ought to have a 5-minute rule for callers, including me,
yeah.
I can talk. But it gets hard when you just sit here. You want to change your subject to respond to what the last guy said. Not that I don't like any of the callers. I think it's, especially when a time like this, a lot of people want to say something. I want to just talk about, I was watching TV and the people were chanting, I won't say the word, but we all know, F Fox News. You know, normally you see the Republicans shouting F CNN. But I'm glad. I do say F Fox News. My friend in Maine canceled his Fox News to his cable because they let him pick. And when they call, I was watching the election, and it was, there we go. It was a repeat of 2016. I mean, the numbers, it was winning Florida by even more. And then they pulled that shenanigans with freaking Arizona out of the blue. And it just, all of a sudden, it gave, like, Chris, what's his name, Wallace, the opportunity to go, oh, that's a change. That's one, Biden stole one from Trump. It just totally changed the momentum as far as the way the media was reporting it. And that guy is a new guy at Fox that runs the decision desk, a guy named Aaron Milken, another Jew. And then that other guy that ran it, he's the one that last election in 2018 said that the Democrats were going to win the House about 8:30. I was like, what? How could he make this? So Fox really is a sneaky organization. I don't think anybody should really be. I'm on other news channels now. I might watch Lou Dobbs and Tucker, but I don't know how much longer, if they have any integrity, they can stay with Fox News, because Fox News really sabotaged this, because Trump had a landslide victory going after they pulled the crap with Arizona. Then all of a sudden they shut down the counting in all these states. It's really a disgrace.
Yeah, but that didn't come from the corporate media. That came from the Democrats.
Yeah, I agree with Mark today in that part of this is Trump's fault. I think countermeasures, they knew this was going to happen. I'm hoping that they took countermeasures in advance. They have a lot of these people. They've got them on videos. They've got them, their telephones tapped. I can't believe that Trump is just going to sit back and let this happen, because everybody knew that this was going to happen. I mean, Trump's beaten these people every time. He beat them with Russiagate. He beat them on the impeachment. He beats them like, red-haired stepchildren. So I'm hoping that, because I'm just little old Joe here sitting in my house in the woods in Tennessee, and I could see this cheat coming. And he's the president of the United States with a lot of political savvy. I hope he's got them all trapped. And then they can really be destroyed. And I really must say, I'm very disappointed. I've always been disappointed for a long time with Bill Barr, but this never would have happened if Bill Barr would have done his job and held people accountable. The deep state never would have had the cohesion to pull this off if half of them would have been indicted and they know that they were going to get in trouble. But being that that Trump didn't, right now, if I was Trump, I'd act like a president and I'd fire Wray, I'd fire Barr, I'd fire Esper, I'd fire Haskin. Why not? What do you got to lose? Just fire him. Put people in there that can start indicting
he's still the president until January, and he could do all of that.
Yep. I'd just say, put on your presidential pants, President. You got till January, and at least you can ruin their reputations. And maybe appoint a special prosecutor right now on Hunter Biden. You can do that. I mean, I don't understand. Now, one thing was interesting, and Alex Jones said you haven't seen or heard from President Trump in a while. I mean, I guess he's been doing the Twitters, but he really ought to get out there and start getting a hold of this. And like I said, I'm not.
Well, I think he's letting Rudy Giuliani take point. Because Rudy Giuliani's all over the TV right now.
I like Giuliani. He's a fighter, but with 9/11, I don't know if I could ever trust him. I mean, he's very easily blackmailed with what happened at 9/11 by the deep state. He helped cover it up. How could he? He got to be patted on the back and called America's mayor, but meanwhile, he looked the other way while they were destroying all the evidence.
Yes.
And one real quick thing about flies.
Yeah, because we're running out of time, and I got
to get rid of fruit flies in my house.
I'm saying, what works?
A vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and with a little bit of a dishwashing, a little drop of that like dishwashing soap, so that when they get in the vinegar, the soap makes them not be able to use their wings to get out.
Well, it's a very, very clever idea.
Yeah, but honey, I don't know if that, but those are fruit flies, not flies. But in my case, vinegar gets more flies than honey. So
okay, well, Joe, I got to let you go. I'm sorry to cut you off here, but I'm probably not going to be able to take all of these calls here, but let's go to Glenn in Philadelphia. Hello, Glenn. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Yes, rather than using either vinegar or honey, I catch my flies with chopsticks, and I prefer them without dipping sauce.
Okay. Danielson.
Okay, exactly. Very
good. Or Miyagi-san,
right.
actually, is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, so many people are familiar with the supposed Baron Rothschild quote that, the best time to invest is when the blood is running in the streets.
Yes.
Well, if civil insurrection, unrest, whatever, is what the globalists want, they could do no better than to delay the inevitable and then conferring the necessary votes upon Trump at the last minute, much as like 2016, because it's like winding up a rubber band. They stretch it out and stretch it out and stretch it out, and then whoosh, throw the electoral votes over to Trump, give him a verified victory, and then we're off to the races with the outrage by the lefties who think they've got it in the bag.
Yeah, this is actually going to make any potential violence worse because the Democrats, and as you put it, the lefties, they are convinced that they have cheated their way to victory. And if something does upset that, there will be a lot of violence in the streets. And, we all need to be very, very careful about that.
If they get what they want with Biden winning, then they won't have as much excuse for trouble in the streets. So,
okay.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Take care.
All right. Thanks a lot. We're going to switch to Mark in Texas. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Fine.
Hey, what we got here is, I was thinking today, we've got a banana republic.
Yes.
We very likely have two presidents. I mean, that sounds like Venezuela.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. Neither party has served the American people for a long time.
Okay, Mark, I got to put you on hold. Mark, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsors. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Mark in Texas. And Mark, just finish up what you wanted to say.
Yeah, Mike. George Wallace told us over 50 years ago there's not a dime's worth of difference between Republicans and Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to spill my blood for either one of these godforsaken parties. Have a great day.
Well, thank you very much, Sharon. I don't think if there is conflict in the streets of America, it's not going to be so much Republicans versus Democrats as ordinary people against the ruling elite, as it was in France during their revolution. So thank you for the phone call, and we're going to switch over to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Listen, I want to change the subject real quick here. You mentioned about the Oregon, the new Oregon law about the drugs.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I owned a 7-Eleven in Oregon for 20 years, Mike, and I was part of. I can tell you that I saw at the height of methamphetamines what happened and how these guys would go into houses and strip the wires. They tripped the wires, from government, from bridges and cables.
Yes.
Do anything. And
metal thieves.
Methamphetamines and heroin are highly addictive. This is going to hurt all the people in Oregon. It's going to drive property value. People will not want to move there because it doesn't matter if it's controlled use or anything. These are highly, highly addictive drugs, Mike. And I can tell you, I had people coming into my store. They were all methamphetamine users, bringing in golf clubs, bringing in guns, pistols for sale, and all sorts of tools, drills, everything. They were all stolen. Everything was stolen, Mike. So this is only and then now you're going to throw heroin into the mix. I mean, the methamphetamines is worse than anything because the people will.
Yeah, it is. And all joking aside here, when I lived in North Hollywood, we had a huge meth problem there as well. And so I got to see it all up close and personal. And, I'm kind of wondering just who it was who got that put on the ballot in the first place and what the people of Oregon were thinking when they voted it through.
Yeah, well, when all this stuff, the thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of theft because these people stay up all night long, and when they run out, they don't have any money, so they're going to go steal things. But Mike, I want to say one other thing, then I'm gone here. Trump. I don't know how many of your callers realize, but Trump has had so many people, even from his own party, undermining him throughout the whole time. They were quietly undermining him. So and then the last thing is this show, the X-22 report. He's telling people that this whole thing that happened is part of the plan. It's ridiculous, Mike. People have got to stop listening to stuff like that and listen to people that tell the truth.
Yeah, we definitely do. Anyway, listen, Steve, got to let you go. The music is playing. It's time to wrap up this show. And please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. Apparently, Roger Landry and Steve Elkins will be joining John on the microphone next. So stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.